Welcome to another Finish First session. I'm Judge Dawson, and I'm here just to give you enough information to take you to the next level. I don't aim to waste your time. I just want to give you all the tools that I've gathered over these many, many years of being a judge, an attorney, and just living life that has been analyzed. See, we all go through experiences. We all have ups and downs, but the question is, are you analyzing those experiences so that you can go to the next level or not make the same mistake? That's the key. Nobody's perfect. Nobody has this magic key. Sometimes it's just a matter of luck and preparation meeting at the same time. So when I give you these tools, it's not because I think I'm better than you. It's just that I've analyzed many of the mistakes I've made over the years. And now I bring you information that can help you move to the next level. What is a cycle breaker? A cycle breaker is anybody in any place of life who's trying to change the community, the world, or even their home. You don't have to have a special title. You don't have to work for anybody that's special. You just have to have that dedication within yourself to say that you are going to break cycles. You have to have enough dedication to say that the life that you've been living in the past is no longer good enough. And now you want to take it to the next level. You want to figure out, how do you get out of the rut? Now, sometimes we get comfortable in these ruts because it seems that they're okay, right? Nothing's wrong. You go to work every day. But then you have to ask yourself, are you living to your maximum capability? And if you're not, that's something that you should analyze. So the relationship that you're in, is it the best that it can be? The habits that you form and that you participate in every single day, are they helping you become a better person, or is it some other level that you can go to? And when you think about it from that perspective, that's what I mean by being a cycle breaker. Not just settling for the fact that life is moving in the same direction over and over and over. Not just settling for the fact that you don't know what's going to happen today because when you walk out the door, you don't have your relationship intact, or you don't have a good rapport with your boss so that you don't know how your day is going to go, or you don't have driver's license, so you may get pulled over before you make it to work or make it to your destination. Those are situations where you want to say, you know what, I want to grab some control of what I can control. And that's all that being a cycle breaker is about. So when we talk about being a cycle breaker, there are 4 steps, and I'll continue to remind you of these steps over and over again because they're so important to your success. First of all, you have to recognize the need for change. What is it in your life that you need to change? And I'm going to tell you something. That is an everyday endeavor. You may hear this over and over again because you've been looking at these videos, you've been following me on my social media, so you know the tools of a cycle breaker. The question is, are you willing to apply them? So it's not just enough to say, you know what, I know I need to stop smoking, or I know I need to get better with my fitness, or I know I need to break up from this relationship that's either causing me pain or causing me to have bad run-ins with the legal system, whatever it is. So once you analyze that situation, then it's time to say, you know what, I am going to change it. And you have to hear that over and over and over again. And in fact, it's something that you may want to reset every single day. As soon as you wake up, you have to recommit to changing. And that's number 2. Number 2 of being a cycle breaker is committing to make the change. So you've already analyzed your life. You already know the areas that you need to improve. You already know the ways that you can be better. Now it's time to commit to doing better. So now the commitment comes in. And that's maybe writing down a list of goals that you have for yourself for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Heck, maybe it's just the goals that you have for the next day, things that you want to accomplish, things that you know will take you to the level of achieving your goal. So once you commit, that really directs how you live your entire life. Once you commit to an endeavor and you are all in, every single day will be a step toward that commitment. Let me give you an example. If you know that you want to get up every morning at 5:30 and meditate, and I'm talking 5:30 a.m., then what you do the day and night before will reflect the goal of getting up at 5:30 in the morning. Because you know to get up at 5:30 in the morning, you can't party all night the day before. You can't get high, you can't drink, you can't smoke, you can't do all those things that kind of put your mind in a different mindset. You have to be committed and keep in mind, my goal is to wake up in the morning. So remember, it's simple as that. When you set goals, when you make a commitment to being a cycle breaker, your life should start to look like the goals that you've set. Someone should be able to look at you and tell that there's something a little different about you because you're not moving the same way that everybody else is moving, because you have goals and you have commitments. Number 3, once you commit to breaking the cycle, now you have to get the tools. All of us want to be something, right? Whether it's a basketball player, an internet star, whatever it is you want to be. Maybe you want to be in a great relationship. Whatever it is, there are always tools and techniques that will take you to that next level. See, the mistake that a lot of us make is that we just think that we can simply float on into our destiny. And it happens sometimes. I mean, those are the rare stories, and we love those stories, right? The overnight success. The person who was walking through the mall and they were discovered to be a new actor. Yeah, we love those stories, but they don't happen that often. More likely than not, what we are seeing is people, boom, boom, boom. More likely than not, what we are seeing are people who have prepared themselves over the years, over time, putting in all that hard work, and then all of a sudden it looks like they are an overnight success. But in reality, they've been working. So when you see someone with a great relationship, it didn't happen overnight. They developed somewhere down the line the tools and techniques to get there. When you see someone who's never had a run-in with the legal system, you think that just happens because of their socioeconomic position? No. It's probably years of grooming. Maybe it started with their parents. Maybe it started with their grandparents and it pounded in their head not to have a negative interaction with the legal system. But the bottom line is that when you commit and you get the tools, that's when you'll break those cycles. Number 4, the last step of being a cycle breaker is to hang in there when it gets tough. Hang in there when it gets hard. Just looking at my video right now is probably hard, right? Because your mind is wondering, there are other things you want to do, there are other places you want to be. But I'm telling you, if you commit right now to listening to this video, to applying the tools that I am giving to you, that you dedicate yourself to the other tools and resources and being around people who are positive, you will make it to your destination. Now, you may not make it tomorrow. And that's another thing about this generation, our generation. We want things so fast because we see it on the internet. We see it on social media. People who are rich, who are buying these extravagant things in these great relationships and all these other things. So we want it right away. But remember, life doesn't always happen fast. It will definitely happen. Life will go. Life will continue. But it may not continue as fast as you want it to go. So you have to be willing to hang in there when it gets tough. Not only when it gets tough, but also when your friends no longer believe in you. When the people that you care about look at you and say, why are you still getting up at 5:30 in the morning meditating? What is it doing for you? Or when the people that you care about, they say, man, you still work at that place? You still work at McDonald's? What is it doing for you? You can make more money selling weed. So you have to be willing to endure the criticism and the unbelief of the people who you care about. And don't be shocked to know that sometimes that's going to come from the people closest to you. The people closest to you will sometimes try to knock you down. But that's when you have to hang in there. And then another thing you got to think about as far as committing and hanging in there is when you fall down and people even fall on you, right? You may feel betrayed by your friend. You may think, you know what, he and I were best friends. How is it going this way now? Why are they saying those things about me? Why are they talking about me behind my back? All of that doesn't matter because your goal is to break cycles. Your goal is to be the best you can be with the time that we have on this earth. So don't worry about other people. Don't worry about failing. Just continue to stay in the game. My message for you today is do what you love. Do what you love. And you know, that would seem to be a very obvious statement, right? People think all the time, you know what, I want to do what I love. I want to go to school or not go to school, and I want to be a star and all these great things that I love. But you really should try to do what you love. And what I mean by that is outline what you do love. Because I can tell you some of the things that you love, right? I can just tell you because we have that human connection. We all love winners, right? We all have a favorite sport, and maybe you don't, but then you have other things, and I'll get to that. Let's say you have a favorite sport. And beyond that, let's say you have a favorite team. And then whittle it down all the way to a favorite player. You turn on the TV, you want to watch that player score all the points they can. You want to see these miraculous plays, and you love it. Sometimes you even celebrate it. That's on the sports end. And what about entertainment? There's some people that we like, you know, we're waiting for the new CD to drop, or we're looking for that new single. We're ready, we're excited. We celebrate their success. We spend money to go to the concerts and things like that. We love entertainment. And then what about those great relationships? How many times have you seen hashtag relationship goals? Well, millions of times according to Instagram and Facebook. Why? Because naturally we celebrate those who are winning even in their relationships. We want to be in those relationships. We celebrate those relationships. And then what about financially? All of us want to be rich, right? Well, some of us have adopted the minimalist lifestyle and don't really care about money, and that's fine too. But the large majority of people at least want to be secure financially. So we look up to and we admire those who have achieved that goal. So those are just examples of some of the things that you love. So my message for you today is, why don't you do what you love? All right, let's go back to the world of sports, right? We all like sports, or like I said, some of you may not like sports, but let me talk to those who do, because if you don't like sports, I'll get to you in a minute. But we notice that there are people who are exemplary in their achievements. I always think of LeBron James, who is, you know, arguably one of the greatest basketball players to ever do it, to ever play the game. But what people don't think about is all the hard work that LeBron James puts in. And not to mention what he's doing for his legacy. The way he's giving back in Akron and all over the world, his investments and all the things that he does. It takes time and effort to be LeBron James. If you don't like LeBron James, let me go back to the late, great Kobe Bryant. We all know how wonderful and magnificent he was on the basketball court. But then at the same time, if you know anything about Kobe Bryant, if you watched any of the documentaries, if you've ever seen some of the YouTube videos, you also know that he puts in a lot of time, or he put in a lot of time toward his craft. There were days when he would wake up in the wee hours of the morning just to go to the gym and shoot free throws. But the bottom line is, whether it was free throws or running up and down the court doing sprints, he worked very hard at his craft. So when we look at the world of sports, why don't you do what you love? See, it was easy when we're talking about, you know, I don't want to go to work. I want to be a star. I want to do what I love. No, if you love Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, you know, Patrick Mahomes, whoever it is that you admire, why don't you do the same? And what I mean by that is, you have the capacity to do it. Why is it that so many people will settle for mediocrity in our lives, in your life, rather than getting off the couch and doing what you love? Now, I'm not saying that you have to be a football star or a basketball star, but what I am saying is, why don't you be in your best physical condition? because we are so used to celebrating their physical condition. You're so used to saying, man, it's amazing how he can do all those things on the court, yet you won't even do some sit-ups and push-ups. Or better yet, you won't even eat right. Or forget about eating right, you won't turn down McDonald's 4 or 5 times a week. Now, I am not trying to criticize anybody. You know I'm about physical fitness. Some of you know I'm a yoga teacher. So it's an important message. The message is really simple, and it needs to be repeated over and over and over again. Why don't you do that what you love? If you love the people who are winning in sports, you should win in your physical fitness. If you love the people who can run a marathon and you celebrate them running a marathon, you can run on a treadmill for 5 or 10 minutes. If you love the person with the great body, you can also begin to work on having your best body. So you don't have to be anybody else. You don't have to aspire to have what others have. But what I'm suggesting is, why don't you do what you love? Moving to the world of entertainment. You know, we watch movies all the time. We watch comedies. Some of you love Kevin Hart. Can you imagine how much time Kevin Hart puts into his stand-up routine? See, that's the thing. A lot of us think that it just comes naturally or that greatness is just by chance. Well, talent can be discovered by chance, and talent can exist naturally. But greatness, oh, that's a whole nother level. To be great at something, it takes work. So yes, Kevin Hart could be the funniest guy, and somebody finally said, you know what, man, you need to do stand-up. Maybe that was his path. But once he began going down that path, that's when the work began. That's when he started putting in the hours and hours of writing jokes, setting up the scheme, setting up the punchlines, working on his swag, how he walked into a studio, how he walked on the stage. All of these things are pre-planned. But see, we tend to think it's easy. But if you love what he does, if you love and laughing and having fun, why don't you do the same thing in your own sphere of influence? So maybe when it comes to work, you want to be great at work, just like Kevin Hart's great on the stage. So prepare. What can you do to prepare? Well, what about ironing your clothes the day before so that you're not rushing in the morning? That's going to set up your greatness at work. What about spending a whole day saying, you know what, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be the most positive person in the room. I'm not going to go for any negativity. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to fight. That's going to set you up for your greatness. And when you're great in those things, imagine the positioning for bonuses and raises and advancements that you'll have. Let me break it all the way down. If you're great at just preparing for life, imagine what will happen when you have a negative run-in with the police. All right, let me give you a story. So recently I had some very difficult times. And, you know, the thing is, it doesn't matter if you're Judge Dawson or who you are, you will have ups and downs. I had some very difficult and challenging times. And I sat there toiling, trying to figure out, how am I going to make it through this? What should I do? What is it going to cost me mentally, physically, financially? And then there was a moment where I finally got on the path to a solution, but I kind of knew that I was going to have some bumps in the road. So what did I do? That morning, this is just for me. You can have your other tools, your own tools to be a cycle breaker. But for me, I started to read the Word of God, to be honest with you. I started to read the Word of God, and as I approached the situation and people who were supposed to help me came into my area, I was already prayed up. I was already prepared for whatever happened. And guess what happened? Everything failed. See, you probably thought I was going to say everything was perfect and everything worked out, but it didn't, because that's not how life is. Things got worse for me. But what was different was my attitude toward the entire situation, because I had already set myself up for success. So when we're talking about preparing for your greatness, that's what I mean. Let's take it all the way back. So we're talking about doing what you love. I mean, when you look at these stars and these movies, making these records, it takes time to get to that level of greatness. But the same thing applies to you and in your life. So do what you love. If you love going to the movie or watching a DVD or Netflix and chilling, if you love all that stuff, then you can be as great as the people that you're watching. You don't have to be a superstar, but you can be a superstar on your job, a superstar at school, or maybe in your family. So the message today is do what you love. What about your relationships? Remember, hashtag relationship goals? Those things don't just happen overnight. And the sad part about it, and I can go on and on about relationships. I'm writing a new book about relationships, in fact. So I have a lot of material on relationships. But for today's purpose, I'm just going to keep it real short and real direct. When we talk about relationships, ladies and gentlemen, those things take work also. You look at other people and you think they have this magic touch, that they have this perfect relationship, that they connect so well, that everything is hitting on all cylinders. But you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. You don't know the struggles they have financially, physically, mentally, whatever it is. And God forbid that they're a well-off financial couple. You tend to think, and we tend to think, that they don't have any problems at all. But the reality is that Biggie said it best, more money, more problems, right? So don't just think because a couple has more money, they have more cars, they live in a bigger house, that they have it better than you, because 9 times out of 10, they don't, and they may even have more problems. But here's the key. Those relationships that look good on the outside, sometimes they really are good, but it takes work. So for you, do what you love. So if you love these relationships, you always want to put a heart by the couple kissing and things like that. When you go home, give your mate a hug, give your mate a kiss, instead of being critical all the time. Or get up and do what you know needs to be done for that relationship. So if you're a man, and I speak to the men, and it could apply to women, it really could apply to women. But if you're a man and you don't have a job, and you know that that's causing stress in your relationship, get up and get a job. Any job, something to provide security for your family. Or let's say that you have a job and it's just not cutting it, right? For some reason. Maybe you're away from the family too long, maybe you're not making enough money, whatever it is, it may not be cutting it. You may need to make adjustments if you care about the relationship. See, remember, I'm talking about people who are going to do what they love. Now, maybe you fall in a category where you don't even care about relationships, and that's fine. But if you do care, and if you love them, and you hashtag and all those great things, then you need to start doing what you know needs to be done so that you can have that type of relationship. And another thing, if you want to be in a great relationship, begin to prepare yourself for that relationship. So you've spent a lot of time on the Instagram, you spent a lot of time on Facebook, you know what you want in your mate. So you now need to be prepared to get that, whether it means getting yourself together or choosing the right person. Like, you can't have this great relationship when you know you're choosing people who aren't great. And you can't long and mourn for a relationship that you know wasn't a great relationship. See, we often have this attachment to being with somebody. We don't want to be alone. We have to be in a relationship. We have to be connected. And that makes sense because we as humans, we are relational beings. So it's natural that we want to be in relationship. But you got to say, I'm only going to be in relationship with a relationship that's good for me, with a person that's good for me, with friends who are good for me. So when you put that hashtag relationship goals or that's my best friend, make sure you're choosing people who are good for you because you love that, you admire that. Do what you love. Have a relationship like the ones that you admire. We are talking about doing what you love. And I don't want to leave out the financial end of it. That was in my introduction. Because remember, we could talk about a million things that apply to doing what you love. It doesn't just have to be a relationship, physical fitness, being great at work. It could be many things. But let me talk about financially. If you love people who are in great financial condition, we need to both start taking steps so that you and I are in the same financial condition. Now, you may not be in the same financial position, right? You may not have $1 million or have as much money as Jeff Bezos, but you can be in a great financial condition for where you are right now and for where your family is and what they need from you. See, we oftentimes get so caught up because everybody wants to be rich. And then a lot of times you'll compromise what's important for that elusive drug of being rich. So what I mean by that, you have a good job, but you'll do something crazy and end up losing that job because you want more money. Or you have a good job, but you don't do well on that job because your focus is always on the next hustle. So you mess up. So that's what I mean by oftentimes giving up what's good and what can get better for what that elusive dream is selling you. Everybody's not going to be a millionaire. I know people sell that to you. And one of the things I find pretty interesting is that if you did a survey of people who are coming out of school, graduating, the first thing they'll say is, I want to be a millionaire. And then you ask them, well, how do you plan on doing it? They don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. So if you don't have a plan to get to where you are, or where you want to be, if you don't have that plan, you'll never get there. And that's an example of not being able to do what you love. So if you love people who are in a great financial position, if you love people who can go out and buy things that they want, then we need to begin to put ourselves, me and you, in the same position, the same condition to receive those blessings. Because remember, position and condition are two different things. Position is that actual number, $1 million. You may or may not get there. Condition is just the ability to live in a way that's similar to those you admire. And it may not be on the same level, but at least you're not worrying about your bills. At least you have a good job, and there are tools and techniques to get you there. But today, I just want to tell you that you have the capacity in all of those areas to do what you love. Don't sell yourself short. Don't just sit back and sit on the sidelines and admire everything else that everyone else is doing. Get up, take control of your life, and do what you love. Let's go.